Hello lovely people of the internet, and welcome to the first, I would say, episode of, or maybe the second, because Bubble Class the intro was the first one. It's the second intro episode of Learning to be Blind, and today I'm mostly going to talk to you about the computer test that I recently attended at Bartimaeus. I actually attended 2 appointments on that day, and the other appointment was a social appointment with a lady who deals with the social sector of the social section of being visually impaired. But there's not actually a lot I can say about that. Firstly, because I can't vlog while I'm there. There are 2 reasons for that. I want to respect the privacy of the people who work there. And the second reason for that is because if the stuff that I'm actually learning or having a discussion with, I don't want to distract myself by having a camera and paying attention to the camera and whether it's filming correctly and whether I'm in frame and all that kind of crap. I'm going there for the appointments, and I'm going there because I need to learn stuff and I need to discuss stuff. So you'll probably never actually see a vlog from inside of Bartimaeus itself. But yeah, every appointment I attend, I'll try and tell you a little bit about. And with the social appointment, I can't tell you a great deal because we basically just discussed what difficulties I have with going outside, what kind of help I need, which you guys already know if you've read my blogs. I need verbal directions so that I can still roll my own chair, but do it safely without rolling into anything or accidentally rolling down a step or whatever. So yeah, we talked about that, and we basically talked about different companies that offer volunteer services that may possibly be able to help me, and that was it. It was an interesting conversation. She was a very nice lady. I learned a lot because I learned about some companies that I didn't know about. But yeah, it's not very interesting for you guys for me to spend 10 whole minutes talking about an appointment that was only basically just discussion. So anyway, that was that appointment, and on the second appointment that I attended on that day was the computer test. And in the computer test, we looked at the phone and the iPhone I have, and the iPad, and yeah, we looked at how I'm used to using it, and of course I'm used to using it by holding it into my face like this and like kind of squinting at the screen to try and focus on the small text. And we have already established that that's not healthy. I do make some use of VoiceOver, basically because when I go outside and I have that 2% sight, it looks always like the screen is black. Even if the screen is on and readable, it still looks black to me. So I have to use VoiceOver outside, and we're now at a point where I've established that it's better for me to use VoiceOver inside so that I can hold the phone at a normal distance away from my face, because inside I can see some colours and I can see like shapes. So even if I'm looking at the screen from this distance and I can only see the colours and the shapes, that's enough for me to orientate applications, because I know what Facebook looks like, I know what Twitter looks like. I had them all up to my eyeballs, so I know what they all look like, but being able to read them from this distance is not possible, so I have to use, or I'm going to need to make use of VoiceOver inside the house as well, so that I'm not straining my eyes and I'm doing stuff in a healthy manner. We also looked at some programs for the PC, but I'm going to show you that in a separate video because I think talking about the phone and the PC need to be separated. So today I'm going to show you some of the things that talk about some of the things that I learned about on the phone. I was asked by the computer specialist to make as much use of VoiceOver as possible, and we've already established that I know the basics, so I know enough to navigate the phone and to read simple things without having to have any further training. And I do need to have further training because I'm going to learn some more complicated things about navigating websites and navigating certain apps. Like, for example, I have no idea how to make a phone call with VoiceOver switched on. So there are things that I'm going to need to learn, and I'm going to get some training for that. But he gave me some tips and tricks. Like I said, he asked me to make use of VoiceOver as much as possible so that I can get used to using it. So I changed the settings in my phone. Normally when you click the button 3 times, it comes up with a menu for me so that I can choose from VoiceOver or inverted colours or the magnifying glass. Now I've totally changed that, so now when I 3-click, I'm only getting VoiceOver. So if I unlock my phone, which I can do really easily because yeah, I have a fingerprint. So now when I
VoiceOver aan. Agenda.
three-click.
13 juli.
So this is forcing me basically to use VoiceOver. I can now not use my phone without using the VoiceOver because I've taken away all of the other accessibility options. And yeah, that's the only way for me to make myself do things, is to force myself. So I have changed those settings. The basic things are the scrolling from left to right, like I showed you in a previous video actually. How a blind girl uses an iPad. So if you want to learn more about how VoiceOver basically works, go and watch that video. I learned a couple of extra things, like for example when you're in a menu. So let's go to find the settings menu. Actually the first thing I learned was how to switch from one page to another, because I didn't know how to do that, and there were several pages on an iPhone, so you have to use three fingers apparently. And now it scrolls to the second page. And then I learned, for example, if you're in a menu or in Facebook or in Twitter and you want to scroll, because normally you just slide the screen up and down to scroll, and you can't do that on here because it's following my finger, so I'm not able to scroll. Let's go to settings. What I was trying to say is when you have a menu like this and you want to scroll up and down, it doesn't do that because it's just going to follow my finger. So I learned that you have to do that with three fingers, and if you... It's actually now scrolling. Woohoo! I learned things at these appointments. So yeah, I learned that, and the biggest issue that I have with VoiceOver, which was the reason why I didn't like using it, was I couldn't quite figure out how the different types of the different methods for typing worked. So he taught me how to type. So let's open the notes. And as you can now see, guys, I'm looking at the phone still, but I'm not putting it right up to my eyeballs like this, which is way much more healthy. And yeah, I can see the colours, like I said, and I can see shapes. So I can see, like for example, when I have a list of text in front of me, I can see that there are black blotches on the screen where the text should be, but I cannot read it. But it's really helpful to be able to see them, because then I can put my finger right on them. And I think... Yeah, I wrote notes about Supernova yesterday, which is the program that I'm going to talk to you about in a different video for the computer. But what I want to do, just quickly to show you what I learned, is make a new note. Yeah, we want to edit, so that it's telling me that there's a text field there, and I can...
Notitie, tekstveld, bewerkbaar. Invoegpunt aan eind. Invoegpunt aan eind.
Oh, I'm learning new things here. Okay, what's that doing? I don't know what it's doing. Sometimes I don't know what it's doing, so I'm having to put it up to my eyeballs to see kind of what it's doing, and that's something I have to learn not to do. But I guess with training and practice, that will go away. But anyway, I now have a keyboard on the screen, and what I learned is instead of going to a letter and double tapping it, letting go and double tapping it to select it, I can just scroll.
Hoofdletter F, hoofdletter Z, hoofdletter S, hoofdletter D, hoofdletter G, hoofdletter H.
So I found the H,
hoofdletter H.
and then I can tap with my middle finger and it will place it. And this is so much better for me because I have issues with remembering what letter comes next if I'm trying to type a word. So the actual action of tapping and letting go and then double tapping was making me forget which letter I needed to look for next. So now that I never have to remove my finger from the keyboard anymore to do that, I'm actually becoming quite fast at typing. Let's go look for the E. So I'm now type the word hello, and it's a bit slower than you're used to because I'm just used to tapping and tapping and tapping, and yeah, I can type pretty fast with one finger, so it's a bit slower because you have to look for the letters first. But eventually, I mean, already, and I've only been using VoiceOver like this for 3 days, I'm already getting the idea of how far you have to go with your finger to find a specific key. So I'm getting the idea of the layout of the keyboard, even though I can't really see it very well. which is really handy because I'll become faster in the future. I also learned how to do dictation, but dictation, it kind of sucks because it doesn't really follow my voice greatly very well, and because I dictate in 2 different languages, it also gets confused with that, so it's something I need to practice with. What else did I learn? Oh yeah, he showed me some different apps that were probably really useful for me. Like, for example, I can't read my posts, and there's a really wonderful app called the KNFB Reader, which is quite expensive. It's not something that's super cheap, so if you ever want to use it, you need to remember that you need to have money first to buy that. But basically what you do is you hold your phone above your piece of post and you make a picture, and then it will read it to you. So that's something that will be really useful for reading my own letters independently. And the other thing I've been having issues with is reading books. I was very used to reading iBooks like this, with big text of course, because I can't read smaller text from them. Was making the text bigger in iBooks, but reading like this, and when you're doing that, it takes a whole hour for me to read 1 chapter. So we found something that's free called a Daisy Player. It's a Daisy Player app. There are actually also real Daisy Players that comes with CDs, and you stick the CD in and play, but I don't want that. I want as little equipment as possible because I don't want to have to take 10,000 different pieces of equipment with me when I go outside somewhere. So there's an app on the iPhone which is also a Daisy Player, and you can register at the moment with a thing called Stichting Aangepast Lezen, which is a reading service for people with a visual impairment, and you can register there, and it doesn't cost anything to register or to access the books. The only downfall is that you have to have online because it streams them, so you need to have internet access. But for the rest, it means that I can have books read to me, and they're spoken in by proper people rather than listening to VoiceOver and read a book, because I tried to read iBooks with VoiceOver, and because you're listening to a computer-like voice, after about 5 minutes I'm losing concentration. So yeah, the Daisy Player is something that I'm going to look into further, because if I'm going to listen to books, then I want to listen to books that are being read by a normal voice rather than a computerized voice. So yeah, that was another thing that he learned, and I'm going to... Oh yeah, it's turning, that's why it's talking to me. It notifies when you turn your phone. It's now telling me that the phone is lying down. And it's now telling me that the phone is standing up. I'm going to lay the phone down and then it won't do that to me anymore. But anyway, yeah, these are apps that I want to look into because I think that they will be really useful for me. And I'm going to, as I said to you guys, I'm going to get further training to learn some of the more complicated things about VoiceOver, and basically so that I can learn to use my phone more efficiently. But I'm realising that in the beginning nothing is efficient, and all of it takes forever, and it is kind of frustrating because you're used to doing it really quickly with your eyeballs, and when you're doing it without your eyeballs anymore, it's really slow and it's really irritating, and it's a bit frustrating, but you have to be persistent and you have to continue doing it. And I'm realising already that the more I do it, the faster I'm becoming. So yeah, it's something that's new and exciting for me, and I'm going to continue doing it. So while I was sitting here eating my lunch, I was actually playing some more with VoiceOver because I'm supposed to do that, of course. And it's kind of self-explanatory sometimes what you're supposed to do when you need to figure out how to do certain things. I was sitting here wondering to myself, how the heck do I remove that note that I made in the previous clip? And I later went into my email and saw a couple of junk messages that I also needed to get rid of, and I'm thinking, how do I remove those as well? And it's actually quite handy to listen. I've realised it's actually quite handy to listen to VoiceOver, let it talk out, let it finish saying what it's going to say, and that's actually really important because it sometimes tells you what you're supposed to do to remove, or I don't know, mark a mail as unread or whatever. So I'm just gonna demonstrate what I also taught myself. Let's turn him on.
VoiceOver aan. Agenda. Maandag 13 juli.
And I know that there are emails still in my deleted items. So I'll go into the emails.
Mail. Inkomend. Jessica. Aanmelding voor deelnemer. Ticket 0F43. Terugknop.
And we'll go back.
Terugknop.
And
Inkomend. Bewaring JustConnectteam chat. Donor info. Verwerken. Concepten. Verstuurd. Pullenmand.
go to the recycle bin.
Zoek Pullenmand. Mediamarkt. Deze week de iPhone 6. Mediamarkt. Deze week de iPhone 6 en de iPad mini voor een mooie prijs. 13:04.
I get these emails from MediaMarkt all the time. Sometimes the offers are really interesting, sometimes they're not, but once I've read the email, I want to delete it. And I was thinking, how do I do that? Because normally you swipe from right to left and you can just get rid of the email that way. Okay, swiping gestures in VoiceOver don't work, so how am I going to delete this? So let's let him announce that email again.
MediaMarkt. Deze week de iPhone 6 en de iPad mini voor een mooie prijs. 13:04. Taken beschikbaar.
And he says to me, taken beschikbaar, which basically means there are tasks available. And I'm thinking, okay, how do I get to those tasks? There's a rotor. Let's try that.
Tekens.
That's for characters.
Spreeksnelheid.
That's for the speech speed.
Volume.
That's for volume.
Taal.
That's for language.
Taken.
Oh look, taken, tasks. And I know that when you do things with a rotor, you're supposed to swipe from the bottom of the phone upwards to hear the options. So I'll do that.
Verwijder.
And it's telling me remove. And I'm thinking, okay, I found the option, now how do I activate it? And of course with everything on VoiceOver that needs activating, you normally double tap, so I'm just double tapping, which I will turn the phone around and do. Oh look, the email disappeared.
This is code. X code. 11:49.
And I can do the same again, and it should still be on tasks because that was the last option I selected in the rotor.
Verwijder.
And I'll double tick. Oh look, I emptied my trash can. But there are other ways to empty a trash can, of course, because there are options here at the top right that allow you to select a number of mails and then delete them all at once, but it's just 2 and I wanted to know how to remove them from the inbox, and that's basically what I found out. So, I've also learned that it's good to explore. Anyway, that's it guys, I just wanted to let you know how my first test went, and as the appointments continue to come through, I will continue to make more videos. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you had fun and I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next episode, be good, and if you can't be good, just have fun.